MPS Music Podcast Series, the YouTube version. This is DJ LED, aka BJ Fornicati, aka whatever you want to call me. And this is the first time I'm doing a video Zoom interview. But the second interview I'm doing with this band from Des Moines, Iowa. They're really dope. And their name is LAV.ISH, LAV.ISH. Fellas, go ahead and introduce yourselves to the MPS crowd.
What's going on, world? Again, our name is LAV.ISH, LAV.ISH. My name is Carl. I'm a vocalist for the group.
My name is Brandon. I'm one of the producers.
I'm Lucas. I'm a producer.
And I'm Nim. I'm the rapper, and I do a lot of the content and art for it. And we have Jared, who's might make his way here soon, who's another producer.
How are you guys doing with the COVID-19, man? How's the lockdown? What's it like out there for you guys right now?
We've been stuck in this house for about, 2 months?
2 months, man.
And it was chill because we have a studio and we have like an art room that we do everything in. And then where we're at, Des Moines, kind of everything opened up today, actually, which is pretty sketch. A lot of people are mad about it, a lot of people are happy about it, but I think it's a little bit too soon.
We're kind of keeping our distance from people still, but yeah, we're still in the house, still doing what we do, so.
Well, I'm glad you guys are conscientious about it. I'm on the same page. I think it's a little too early to start opening stuff up. But you know, we're a small city in Indianapolis, Carmel. That's where I'm from, that's where I'm here. And it's about 90,000 people. What's the population where you guys are at?
It's like 240,000, 250,000 in Des Moines, maybe.
Okay.
I think the metro is like.
Here, I'll look it up to get exact
300,000 is what I'm.
The whole metro area.
Yeah, just like the Des Moines metro area.
I mean, you know, Carmel is just north of Indy, so once we get into that part, it's definitely more dense and a lot more people. But where I'm at specifically, where I spend 90% of my day, is like 90,000 tops, and it's kind of sleepy. And so I'm not really worried personally about going out, but I agree that I think it's way too early to be reopening. And that sucks because, especially for you guys are active entertainers. The last time I talked to you, you were doing a festival in Des Moines. Tell me how that went. What was the outcome, the result? What was the experience of that festival?
No, it was CultureCon. It actually worked. It went well. If we're thinking about it now, we were kind of like the last bigger event that went down before everything shut down. So it worked out kind of in our favor. We had a solid show up. It was like over 1,000 people came through. We had like close to 30 some artists show their work. A bunch of musicians were playing, food everywhere. People were happy. People were smiling. We got a lot of good feedback.
That's great. Yeah, that was the last time I spoke to you guys. You were just on the cusp of that, and then everything seemed to hit. And did you have anything planned during the time that the COVID-19 pandemic shutdown occurred?
Yeah. Everything was happening so fast. We had a show. We would have had 2 shows back to back. So we would have went Friday night and then Saturday night. One would have been kind of like a rock show. We would have just rocked our asses off, to be honest. And then one was kind of like this dope new venue emerging in Des Moines that's it's called the Rabbit Hole. It's they run it in the basement, but super dope atmosphere.
That one's kind of dope because it's not like technically legal.
Right, but they pull numbers and it's super dope for local artists. But yeah, we would have had those back to back, and then on that Monday before, we weren't even told directly. We just saw on Instagram that where the first one would have Wooly, we saw that they weren't running any shows until kind of all this blew over. So after that, kind of everything just had to follow suit and close down as well. So yeah, we had stuff planned, but had to take a different route.
The one with the actual venue would have been interesting. I was pretty butthurt that went down because it was like the headliners asked us to do it, and they were kind of a heavy metalish band, so we were kind of hyped to like do a collaboration with something that's a bit different. Our instruments would have kind of shined more.
We'd be getting in front of a different crowd if we played that show, but it didn't happen.
Also, the major festivals here in Des Moines were canceled, so we didn't get to be a part of that, which we were a part last year. That was crazy. That was fun.
So do you feel like you're doing more in the studio now, since the performances and anything out in public is pretty much shut down? Have you been more creative in the studio, or has there been kind of like a malaise, like a cloud because of everything, or are you channeling it into the music? And well, go ahead.
Yeah, I bet. Our producers are to my left and Brandon to my right. They've been pushing beats like crazy. I'll hear Nim rapping verses he's written and doing different things. And I mean, he's even written some stuff I can sing and whatnot. So there is a creative push going. We haven't recorded a lot, but there is still that creative flow. But I don't know. It kind of feels like, at least there have been peaks and valleys. We'll have awesome days where everyone, is flowing, and then it's other days it's like, damn, we're still stuck in this house. Like, how long are we gonna be here? Obviously, we're blessed to be safe and whatnot, but just still trying to push.
We've been putting time into promoting the new album as well.
All right, let's talk about that. So, Lost and Fond. I haven't seen the video yet, but the album's definitely more hip hop heavy. Am I mistaken in that assessment? I feel like it's more R&B and hip hop influence. There's a couple tracks, like I think it's SOB Story. It's got some guitar. One of the first tracks on it for sure was very guitar based, but I'm noticing more of a concentration on the hip hop. And there's no, believe me, I'm a big fan. These are all hip hop records right here. I love rap. But was that a conscious decision for the new album, or is that just the way it ended up because that's how you're vibing?
With this album, I think something that we did different from the first album was we really like made it more real, more serious. Like instrumentally, it's like we definitely evolved and like went Super Saiyan on that side. But as far as like lyrics and writing and the rap side, it's like less of
less arrogant.
Less arrogant, more serious tones, like more like us, stuff that's actually going on in our head. Our heads aren't full of like money and bitches. It's more of like what are we gonna do in this fucking life? So
yeah, it's a little bit more deep.
Yeah,
right. I think if I can add to that a little bit, Nim and I specifically, we definitely wanted to connect more, and we feel that all over pretty much every track. I think probably specifically None of Your Concern, probably. So that's kind of the vibes we wanted to push to, just connect with our audience and like Nim said, like just very real in what we're experiencing.
Now, what was the last track that was recorded for Lost and Fond? I think the last time I talked to you guys was Misfortune had already been out, but like, how close were you to getting this thing done the last time I talked to you?
Oh man, we still had a decent ways to go. If Misfortune was out, the last track recorded was Never Enough.
We did like the week before.
Right, that was recorded a week before we submitted it. So other than that, what else we finished? We did end up going in and doing None of Your Concern. Man, what else? Not Scarlet. Bermuda.
Scarlet was one of the first songs done on the album.
That was done a while ago. So it's been it was like a year of recording total for the whole album. But the last one done, like that week before we submitted.
I'm gonna say right now, Scarlet is my favorite track. There's something old school about the sound. It's got like I don't know if you sampled anything or it was just the drum sound you came up with, but there's something kind of 90s hip hop in that snare. and it stood out to me instantly. And I'm not surprised that was the first one made for it, because it stands out somewhat. So it's like kind of like where, the oldest one on the, the oldest creation that you had, and then you had the newer ones. I was feeling the whole album for sure, but that one definitely, my ears perked up, and I'm like, all right, cool. This is a head bopper. And was there a theme overall for everything, or once again you guys just having fun? Or, well, you say there's a tone of seriousness, so what was your intent with the album? Did you want to wake people up, or you're just expressing a more serious side?
I don't think we were like ever at a point where we're just like, all right, this is the theme. But as of like where we are right now, we're all 24 to 26, and we're trying to figure out what it is we're doing. And Scarlet, even though it's like one of the last songs, second to last song, it was like one of the first songs we made. So kind of set the tone for the vibe for the rest of the songs. And not just lyrically, even instrumentally, and the production of it, especially the end of Scarlet, hours and hours spent on that outro. So having that kind of as the place where we wanted to look, this is kind of where we're trying to take our music. We want to elevate obviously our sound with everything we release, musically especially. So it was a good benchmark, I'll say that.
And there was a bunch of songs made in the process that were just kind of left in the dirt, that are kind of just sitting in the back right now, that we're ready to use as well, that were kind of left off the project.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of ammunition.
So you got a lot of tracks on the ready, and you're still tinkering with them. In this modern day and age, people are dropping albums digitally. Is there a hard copy for this album, number one? Number two, would it have been too much? Would it have been overkill if you dropped everything you were working on? Like, was it a matter of, number three, was it a matter of it just wasn't ready, the quality control was in effect, and these tracks are just not ready to see the light of day yet? Like, what's your philosophy? Do you just drop it all? Because, a record label, putting stuff out on CD or cassette or vinyl, they'll tell an artist, oh, that's way too much, you're saturating your market. Or they'll want steady product constantly, even when the band isn't feeling it. So, like, when you say that you had a lot of stuff that you didn't put back on there, was it just because it wasn't up to your quality standards? Like, it has to be up here, or was it, what's your philosophy? You feel like dropping everything you guys do sometimes?
Well, we treated it as like a project, like the whole thing is one thing. So we wanted it all to flow, and
cohesiveness is the biggest thing. We sat and discussed what could be on the album, what shouldn't be. And when we got down to it, we were talking really about probably 2-3 songs for hours. It felt like, even I'll say now, for example, I originally didn't want Memento on there, just because of how I felt, about the song in general. Brandon was the main one to talk me into it, and then Nim came along and like, hey, like, that's got to be on there. Then I kind of listened for that, and where we placed it in the album, and it was like, yeah, they're right. We gotta put that on there. So it's all about cohesiveness. Also, to answer your question, we don't have hard copies yet. We do plan on getting them, but obviously with COVID and everything going around, we didn't want to risk, exposing ourselves to anything.
Yeah.
And we want vinyls too this round.
You mentioned Memento. Is that the song where the tempo changes like a minute into it?
Yes, sir. Yep.
That I thought was the second standout point of the album. I'm the kind of person, I'm listening for that kind of stuff. If I'm going about my daily business and, I'm listening to an album, but I'm doing other stuff too, organizing something, or just, whatever, looking at my phone, I got something in the background. That'll make me stop. For a moment, I thought I made a mistake, or that the song was that short and it was the next song. And when I looked, I was like, oh, they just straight up went for a different tempo. You don't hear a lot of that, and it was done really well, and it caught my attention. I dug it. Moments like that are what I kind of live for when I'm listening to music, and that's kind of why I like Scarlet too, because the sound stood out from, not that everything else sounds the same, but you definitely have a style. You guys, your band has a distinctive sound to it. So when something deviates from that formula, it's very noticeable. And that could be a bad thing if it's done badly. But in this case, in both cases, I thought they were really cool. With Scarlet, you say, and with other songs as well, you say you spend a lot of hours. Are we talking like just discussing the concepts, or are we talking actually the man hours of making the tracks? What's the time spent on?
Both, man. I've talked to Jared he's not here right now, but I've talked to hours about how do we want, if this is how X artist does it, I'd love it if we either switch something up here and make this more musical, something along those lines, and then we get into it. He has an idea, he lays something down, and it could go building off of that, and honestly that building can take, it could snap right into place in 15 minutes, or it could take, honestly, nights and 4 or 5 days, 6 days, come back a couple weeks later, stuff like that. So we don't have a designated amount of time that we will spend on it, but when we feel it's done, it will be done.
I honestly can't tell you how much time was spent on Scarlet, but I can say that it got completely mastered one time and then completely remastered by Mike Bozzi out in California. And I mean, it went through a lot of changes before it was finally released. Mm-hmm. It went, like, I mean, we spent weeks on that song easily. And like a lot of the stuff was for nothing that we spent on.
Right, that's right. It's not. But
I think we got what we wanted out of it, though. Yeah.
Is it along the lines of like, because I've been in studio situations, especially in LA, when you got these old guys who will spend like 3 hours on one snare, and like, I understand that because the end result usually means it's of higher quality. You guys, your tracks are well produced, and I give you a lot of props for that. They sound clean, everything sounds the way it's supposed to. So there is a point to being meticulous, but what's the fastest you ever got a song done? And do you guys ever go for like lo-fi on purpose, like try and make something sound, like kind of like it was done on a 4-track or something like that? Or is that just, you guys just need top-notch quality every time?
No, yeah, whatever fits the vibe of it. There's been songs, not necessarily on Lost and Fawn, that we like recorded it on a shitty microphone just to get that feeling.
Yeah.
And also the opposite, we like didn't want to record anything because the microphone wasn't worth it. So we've been in both spots before.
The shortest song, or I guess didn't take us long, was, I'd say honestly, Never Enough. I feel like that was done in a day, dude. It's probably 24 hours. Like,
I think I made the beat one weekend, and then like later on that week,
by the time I heard it, verse was on it. Yeah, and Nim spit his on it.
And then they did the hook, and then it was done. And it was like a week of time, probably, like not spent on it, but it was the duration of when we started to when we were done was probably less than a week.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's kind of like hard to say how much time we spent on anything, because like we're, for the past, let's say 2.5 years, we've constantly been surrounded by each other. So even if we're like outside drinking beer around a campfire, we're still like discussing these songs and what we want to do and shit like that. Mm-hmm. So like people could count that as working on it too. So it's really hard because it kind of just like takes over all of our minds constantly.
Well, hey, let me play a little bit of Scarlet.
Love will make you whole until it fucks up your soul. Repetitive toes, holes in hearts where names used to go. Fallen victims of mistakes, made by slithering with snakes. Woman will be woman, bitches do whatever it takes. Like how you acting top shelf when you oh so reachable. Fine like said wine, she thinks she Pinot Grigio. Zero as far as fucks and feelings go. Your ceilings meets my toes if we talking egos. A rose from a road, yeah, we've heard this before. seen things you shouldn't see, yeah, we've seen this before. Simply spitting cliches, cause people buy it, I know. We're not complaining and whining, could be a genre of its own. But I was born to be prone to all that bullshit and such, eating everything up, but words I talk with my gut. Cause nothing's promised in life, not even a casket. Just a last breath and that's it, so light up a fast breath. I've got no self-control. This says yes, that says no. Don't know which way to go. What do you do when there's a fork in the road? I've got no self-control. This says yes, that says no.
All right, so that was the first verse of Scarlet, and first of all, Pinot Grigio, that's a dope rhyme. But I appreciate when people get clever with lyrics. I feel like lyrics nowadays get short shrift, man. Like a lot of rappers just aren't investing in their lyrics.
I think the lyricists are coming back on soon.
Yeah,
I think they're making their way back to the top.
In terms of the song, is Scarlet about somebody in particular, or is it a concept? Is it about Scarlett Johansson? Who are you targeting in Scarlet?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of comes from experience with certain women, if you will, not going the right way, not going the best way. So kind of just build off the life experience with that one.
Is that like the Scarlet Letter? Like, is that a reference to the Scarlet Letter, or?
No. So, to be upfront with you about, so every project we do, we like to put at least one song with the name, with a female name, and we tend to use like a.
Honestly, should we just tell them?
So every project that we do, we use one porn star's first name. So it's all serious, but there's still fun going on in the background.
You can go back and look if you want. This project.
So what we're writing about is real life stuff, but I wasn't gonna put, or we're not gonna put like some chick that we actually know's name on there.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I hear you. It's like a catch-all for, you know, it's a way to kind of hang that on there without going personal with people. I hear that. You know, there's a lot of rappers who I always think of EPMD. Eric Sermon had those songs about Jane.
Yeah.
It was, but you know, it's not about. I'm sure the real Jane is probably a hodgepodge of different women. So you know, it sounds to me like you guys put a lot of emphasis on consciousness. Like you're not trying to diss women. You know, it's not about bitches and hoes. You're not advertising bougie bullshit. You know, it's not about like I got a big ass chain and look at the rims on my ride. You know, it sounds to me like you're trying to like communicate some sincere emotions with your music, and that's what I appreciate about it is that, you know, it's varied, and not very, but varied. There's a lot of different things you got there going on, and you know, I can't wait to you guys eventually make it out this way. If you ever do a tour, I mean, after all this boils over, after the pandemic, hopefully soon. Like, do you guys have plans to get out on the road, or promote it a little bit more? What's the plan for after the pandemic's over?
We really want to like start trying to take it to like that next level and like do what we do here other places, because as far as Des Moines goes, we've really like kind of just squeezed it till there isn't any more. We've done every festival, we've done every place that you can set up shop, so we're trying to really get out, tour the rest of the United States and try out what we can do and show off what we got. And like something that we'd love to do is find some kind of someone that can help us get a tour that could just take us to that next level, some kind of representation, if you will.
Yeah. So where are you? Where's your target for like looking for promoters? You go into like the big cities, because I know that after all this is done, promoters are going to be booking people like crazy because they need to bring people back in. I think this might actually And if I'm wrong, I'll eat my shoe. But I think after all this goes off, I think it's going to be a good time for performers, because there's going to be such a hunger and appetite for that.
Yeah, we've thought long and hard about just going to the Mecca, LA, and just giving it a shot. And I think that's what we're gonna do. We had a house before this house that was kind of our place that we set up shop past year. And then so.
Like, are you guys just going to pack in the van and head out there, or is it going to be like a couple of you scouted out at first? Because I'll tell you, like, being from LA, there's a couple things when I was there that, you know, I'll kind of give you a little bit of my experience, so you know when it comes time. And of course, the city's changed a lot since I was there, but everybody expects you to do everything for free because of exposure. And I'm sure you've heard that in Des Moines, but I feel like LA is the capital of that, where they want you to do everything for free because you're not famous worldwide yet. So it's important to get gigs that pay you, or at least make it worth your time, because you know it'll eat people up. A lot of people come in thinking that that it's going to be simple, and for some people it was. Man, have you ever seen Tom Petty's documentary, that 4-hour documentary on Netflix about Tom Petty? He literally just drove from Florida to California, found some numbers to some record labels, and walked in there and got signed, like right off the bat, But that's Tom Petty, and that was like 1970, so it's a lot different, But so I'm not saying that won't happen, but I would advise, if you're gonna play a venue, try not to play pay to play unless there's somebody else on the venue that's worth it. In which case, you wouldn't need to do a pay to play venue. A lot of the great clubs are like the Whiskey, the Viper Room, the Roxy. They're all pay to play. So unless you want to, do that route, I mean, that's a quick way to get a gig. But if you don't know nobody in LA, then that's going to be hard, because all your peeps are in Des Moines, Iowa. So the key is trying to get on with bands that already have a following, and trying to talk to promoters who are looking for someone to open for their band. If you just hit the Strip, yeah, you might be able to play the Viper Room, or if you pay to play. But those people afterwards, they're just going to go on to the next band. It's just they're at the Viper Room anyway, because it's a Friday night, a Saturday night, and that's the place to be. So it's a lot of time and energy to put on a show, especially on the Los Angeles Sunset Strip, where there's no parking and you gotta load all your gear. It's like there's a lot of things that make it a lot easier, but you got a solid body of work. I know some people who are doing tours and stuff like that, but with everything the way it is right now, nothing's happening. But I'd be more than happy to try and put in a good word for anybody I know out there is trying to get a show together and needs talent. That way you can kind of coordinate it so that you're on a bill with somebody, and you're gonna get some money at the end of the night, as opposed to just playing for free or getting ripped off. There's a lot of places in LA where you can get going, and you might have to do something. Back in our day, I was in a hip hop / rock group, and when we got live gigs, we would divvy it up. So I had a DAT tape for the rappers to go out and do gigs where we didn't have to be there. We would be in the audience supporting, but we didn't have to bring our guitars or basses, a drum set, and we'd just give them a DAT tape, and they would do that and represent that way. They got to play a lot of clubs, a lot of urban clubs especially, by just doing that. And then for the bigger gigs where we needed the whole 6-piece and whatnot, yeah, then we would do that. And that way we were able to cover more ground. But especially with you guys, you've got a lot of songs that could just strictly just be done if you put them on an MP3 or something like that. And you can go hit up small clubs with tiny stages, which is just the rappers, and do your thing. And then you can get gigs where you're playing full on, every person in the band's playing. So I think strategizing in LA is a is a good thing to do. Like, you gotta almost look at it like you're going to invade someplace, and you need to have, like, a way to get inside. You need the Trojan horse to get inside the gates of Troy. But I'm excited. If you guys make it out there, I'll definitely try and talk to some of my friends who are still playing and see if there's anything that they can put up for you guys. Because I think I'd like to hear you guys live. That's why I'm hoping you come out this way. It's a smaller scene, so coming out to Indianapolis. The one good thing about coming out to Indianapolis is if you find a place to play, they will pay you. And I know a couple places where, like, they're mostly like bowling alleys and small bars. But I've got a friend who I collaborate with quite often, Jeremiah Cosner. You might have heard him on some of my podcasts. And he pretty much knows the city of Indianapolis because he used to work at a bar for his uncle, and he's promoted stuff. Whenever I go out with this guy, he runs into at least 2 or 3 people who know him, or like, bar owners or bartenders or performers. So if you guys ever decide to set your eyes on the Midwest, by all means, you're welcome here as well. I would love to try and make something happen for you on either coast. What else do you guys got planned? So you say you're not doing a lot of recording right now?
Once we get the content to record, we record. So we're in the process of creating, if you would.
We record a bunch of, like, music wise. I just think the lyrics haven't been recorded too often.
Right.
So we are recording. There's definitely music being made every day here, but it's just full songs haven't been completed yet.
Okay. You guys ever thought about doing, like, soundtrack work or selling your tracks for TV or whatever? Is that something you have no interest in?
Oh, we have interest in wherever people can listen to it.
We've looked into sync licensing quite a bit. So honestly, representation too. We've been looking at stuff for that. But definitely, especially movies, TV shows, different stuff like that. All these damn producers and all these heads on tracks. There's no reason we couldn't get something into a movie or a TV show, something like that.
And that's another thing about LA too that I wanted to bring up, but I got off topic because I was rambling. But everything's centered around movies and TV. So, there's a lot of musicians that go to LA or in LA, and they start off as actors, but they get their foot in the door, and then they're able to give people their demo or whatever, and that's sometimes how they get in into the industry, is because everybody is really centered around movies and TV. And that's why I asked that, because, like, out here in Indy, that's not really, a big thing. There's people making movies and there's people doing TV shows, but it's not on the scale of Hollywood. But if you guys were to go out there and say, get part-time jobs with Central Casting, send them a photo, and you're young guys, you could be an extra, like, on a TV show, and the next thing you know, you're talking with somebody about your demo. And of course, that's kind of like the same as saying, oh yeah, all the waiters have screenplays in LA. But that's Los Angeles. That's the myth of it, and it's kind of true. Everybody's kind of schmoozing. You might have to take a shower twice a day when you're out there because you'll just feel so dirty having to talk to people about business. But most of them are full of it anyway. So you might as well just go out there and hit every avenue you can, so long as the music gets brought up at one point, because it's all centers around, like, I feel like a lot of times, like when I was out there, I felt like the musicians would just give it up in a second if they could get a role on a sitcom. And that was kind of discouraging for me, because I feel like, well, I just want to play music. I don't want to do a commercial. And I realized later on that's probably what I should have done if I was serious. But I think part of me was getting kind of sick of it anyway, and that's why I'm out here. But like, how's before the pandemic, how was the scene in Iowa developing in Des Moines? Was it starting to? It sounded to me like you guys are getting on a certain momentum, and then it got cut short.
Yeah, I mean, definitely there was a lot of momentum, because we just had that festival, arts festival that we put on ourselves. So there's definitely a lot of momentum from that because that we got on the news, like every news channel that was here, we got interviewed on live news. We're on the radio stations. We got all those, like everything that we could, we did, and a lot of people knew about it. A lot of people showed up. It'll be interesting, like how, because it's like literally not even the government knows what the fuck's going on. So like we don't know how to really bounce back right now. So we're kind of figuring out our moves as as the town's opening back up.
Yeah.
But all we've been doing is pushing the 10 songs that we just put out. So I'm not saying that we like got pushed back at all, but there was definitely a change in our direction because of COVID. We actually got some good news the other day though. That was kind of a jump or like a mark in our resume that show on Shade 45 XM radio that
Shady
will play
45.
one of our songs for this
Sweet.
whole month.
Dude, that's
Yeah,
so
they're-
funny you mentioned Shady 45 because I was watching this video from like 2009. It was Eminem prank calling LL Cool J while he was being interviewed on Shady 45, and Eminem was pretending to be this guy named Jason, and he was like reciting all of LL's rhymes to him, and it was super funny. And I was watching that literally last night, and now you mentioned that. So, are they playing it right
That's
now?
pretty sick, bro. I believe so. There's a show called what is it? The Drive on Shade 45. So that's the DJ that runs that show is playing "You Are," which is the third song on.
Third song.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had to enter a competition for the Midwest, and we won the competition. And now we're being played for it.
Cool. See, okay, that's awesome. I'm glad to hear that, man. That's really sweet. And you know, You Are, I could see that as being like, is that technically the first single, or did you guys just choose it because for this competition?
Yeah, no, that's the first single.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's had its own momentum, and it's awesome to see what it's doing after that re-release, if you would. So, I mean, that we knew we needed that on the album.
I think that's the key. Right now, you're just going to have to focus on things like podcasts. You're going to have to focus on satellite radio. You just dropped an album. Links, events, whatever you got, go ahead, use this time right now to just promote the shit out of what you got going on.
Yeah, again, our name is LAV.ISH. That's LAV.ISH. Don't forget that dot in the middle. Yeah, our Instagram handle is LAV.ISH. Find us on Facebook at LAV.ISH. Our Twitter is LAV.DOT, right? Twitter, same thing as Instagram, LAV.DOTISH. And find us on Spotify especially, but anywhere you stream your music, but Spotify is LAV.ISH. Always remember that dot in the middle.
SoundCloud too. Did you mention SoundCloud? I can't remember if you said
SoundCloud, yep. SoundCloud, same thing. Yep.
Right on.
Apple Music,
Yeah.
iTunes.
Our website will link it to all of them. So LAVDOTISH.
Right on. Now, have you guys been messing around with Zoom or anything like that? Because this is like the first time, literally, I'm doing anything with Zoom other than talking to my niece for her birthday or something like that. So, have you guys messed around with this, or collaborated with anybody, or done anything like this?
Yeah, a bit. We had an interview a couple weeks ago with some locals. Other than family and whatnot, but yeah. We've definitely messed with this.
Yeah, I wish I invested in the Zoom stock.
Yeah.
Right? It's out of control. We were watching TV today, me and my girlfriend, and my son was with us, and they had a piece on Tekashi 6ix9ine, and so like my girlfriend's like, so why is he in jail? What did he go to jail for? And I'm like, you know what? I don't know. So I pulled out the phone and I looked it up, and I'm like, holy shit, he's got like racketeering, conspiracy, and then he stitched out the 9 Trey Crips or Bloods or something like that. And we just started talking about this guy. Like, what's your opinion of Tekashi 6ix9ine? Like, what do you guys feel about that kind of rap and what someone like that represents?
I think he's a dingleberry. I think he's trash.
Yeah, he's not great. not.
He's dirty
good.
water trash.
I don't even know if you can put the word respect what he's done because he's made money.
Props to him for
but-
getting super filthy rich.
Good
but
for
he
him,
sucks.
but he's quite disrespectful as well.
Yeah.
That's not even me talking shit. That's me saying what I see. So
Facts. Those are facts. Yeah. Trying to really listen to the stuff my son's listening to. And I would really like for him to listen to this. I think he would like it. I might, I'll just bring him in right now. Hold on for a second.
Oh, got it.
JR! Come here. JR, I want you to meet the guys I'm talking to on the podcast. They're called LAV.ISH.
Lavish.
Yeah.
that's
I'm going
right.
to play some of their music for you for a second and see what you like, if you like it, okay?
You gotta tell us if we're garbage or not.
I feel like I like you the way you walk. I feel like I like you the way you walk. I feel like I like you the way you walk. I feel like I like you the way you walk.
I definitely danced to this, so I think it's pretty good.
Oh, nice.
Don't be rude, but let them know what you thought, overall.
I think it's pretty good. The rhyming is obviously really well. I think it's really put together very nicely.
Thank you, JR. Thanks.
There you have it. 11-year-old gives you, and I didn't tell him to do that. He didn't know I was going to bring him in here and do that.
I was just doing something, watching TV.
Would you like to see them come out here and play sometime?
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe? All
Maybe,
right,
yeah.
cool.
Think about it.
All right. So you heard it from the youth, man. The youth of today, they're digging on it, and he's like the Fortnite generation, so they're all about dancing.
Hey,
That's not an insult. That's like you guys. Every dance move that he learned is from Fortnite. He's just
not everyone.
like I don't know where he gets it from either. I can't dance to save my life. So anyway, it looks like we've been on for almost an hour. So let me give it over to you guys. What do you guys want to talk about, or is there anything that we forgot to touch upon? Or
Yeah, I feel like just the only thing I could think of is asking you the favor of maybe telling us, like after we're done, just writing us like venues that you know of in LA and stuff like that you think are cool. Or
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it's been 10 years since I've been really out there. And, LA has a bad reputation. They close shit down all the time and make way for new stuff. I mean, they just closed down Amoeba Music, which was like the biggest, best record store on the strip. They've been planning to do that for some time, but then when coronavirus hit, it changed up the game. So that's another thing too, is the coronavirus. But I'll tell you what, right here, right now, I've always felt that, and this is important because this venue I'm about to tell you, they're in trouble too. They might have to close down, the famous Troubadour. And I recommend trying to get a gig at the Troubadour because they're the venue that you play when your band's on the way up. So if you're able to get a venue at the Troubadour, that means you've got something going for yourself. So that would mean like street team promotion up the ass, going out there and making a presence known so that you can get people to come to your shows. I don't think that they do pay to play at all. In fact, I think the Troubadour is one of those clubs where they do a lot of showcasing. Like the record labels say, have them play a show at the Troubadour, we'll check it out. That's for bands that are already in consideration. I never played a gig at the Troubadour. That's how I know it's not an easy gig to get. And the other gigs are dime a dozen. The pay to play thing is like, they give you 50 tickets and you have to sell all the tickets and you have to give them like $250. Now, this is 1990 prices I'm talking, so it could be more or less. But you have to give the venue back the money, and then any money you make on top of that goes into your pocket. So it's tough if you don't have a large following already on your side. I don't know what your LA numbers are like how many people who follow you online or whatever from Los Angeles.
They're always top 2-3 cities.
We have a good friend too who's doing pretty well acting wise out there. He's been in a few movies.
There you go.
Last Timothy or whatever. But other than that, yeah, I think.
Yeah, it is kind of about who you know out there. I'll definitely put in a good word. You know, back when we were active, though, when the band I was in was active, you know, we got our first gig. We did a pay to play, and we were lucky enough that one of our guitarist friends was a daughter of a famous actor, and she later went on to become a producer of a lot of successful reality TV shows. But she happened to be there that night. She saw us, recommended us to a booking agent she knew, and we got a gig at this legendary dive bar called Al's Bar, which is no longer there anymore. And that gig led to us getting a residency at a club called the Roxbury, which you might know from A Night at the Roxbury movie. Yeah, we used to play that club in the basement. They would call it the basement. It was really just the first level. And then the second level was a dance floor, and the third level was VIP. And we did that for like a year. And then finally we broke up, but that momentum would have definitely built up because, you know, it was one thing led to another, and we were getting paid gigs. So, you know, the Roxbury's not even there anymore. It's a sushi place now. And that's the thing about LA. Like I said, a lot of stuff comes and goes. So you got to hit up the stuff that's built to last. And, you know, I'll put in a good word for you guys for sure. And I'll send you, you know, more detailed promotional stuff. But I would definitely make it like a goal of yours to try and get a gig at their Troubadour. If you can somehow manage that, you know, because I never managed it. So if you can manage it, then you're on your way. I went and saw a couple friends' bands who played at the Troubadour, and they had big crowds with them. So, you know, if you can get those LA peeps to promise they'll be there and show up, then you're on the right track. Another place off the top of my head, and it might be different, Universal City Walk. It's where Universal Studios is. And it's just this big center of restaurants, bars, and venues. And that's a popular place for people to go see bands play because, you know, it's people go there just to hang out anyway. So off the top of my head, but I'll try and come up with some more stuff for you guys, you know, and I'll try and talk to my peeps out there and see what's cracking lately because, like I said, it's different. Every time I go out there, something's gone. And it kind of makes me feel like, damn, you know, like... You know, the only way I'm going to keep track is if I stay in LA, but it's too expensive. That's another thing. Bring a lot of money and prepare to eat cheap, man, because, you know, it's expensive out there. You know, rent is really high. Gas is high. It's kind of, I can't believe I used to pay close to $4 a gallon for gas. You know, and you have to take a car to get everywhere, but that's one thing that's changed a lot as well. Uber and Lyft are huge. They actually made a subway that connects like the valley, which is cheaper, to like the main city of downtown in Hollywood. And they're building a lot of different public transportation things. So these are ways to kind of like, you know, save your money while you're down there because it is so expensive. It's like, if you want to you got the beach, you can go surfing and stuff like that, you know. And this is all assuming that everything is, you know, peachy keen by that point and nobody's wearing masks. I appreciate you guys reaching out to me to talk, you know, because it's a small podcast I got here, but I like in my audience to people with fine taste. They don't just listen to any old bullshit out there. They're not really Miley Cyrus fans. No disrespect to her, but, you know, we're digging a little deeper, I think. And I remember last time we talked about influences, and that made a big impression upon me. You guys aren't just mining from the same well. You know, I heard everything from Twista to Pink Floyd to Biggie. And it's like, you know, that's what music is all about, is all the different types. So what else? Is there anything else before we decide to retire? Because I'm getting hungry.
Get another beer.
We're all good if you're good.
I'm definitely good here, man. So on that note, I'm going to wish you guys the best and the best of luck. And in the meantime, while we're maintaining all this madness, peace to all of you. Peace and love. And the new album sounds great. I'm going to go check out the video and take care, man. You guys have a great night. So, all right, you guys. Peace in the Middle East with chicken grease. Take care.